right. I do things wrong, and it all comes back to me in time. This time I thought I had it made. Believing too much, my only mistake. I knew what was said came from the heart, and I realized how we've grown up hard, and you really changed. And tell me why, and if you're still the same, then admit the lie.
There's like, I think there's a lot more more just open-mindedness and looking for more originality and stuff like that. And I think it's probably, there's not really that big of a percentage more of those kind of attitudes in punk rock than there is anywhere else.
Because they don't understand that we're not violent, and it just sort of freaks them out. I don't mind, college students, but it really bothers me, like when I walk down my street, my neighborhood, and my neighbors go in their houses when I walk down the street because I have my hair spiked, or just that kind of upsets me, because I don't want people to be scared of me.
Like, I know friends that I have that aren't into punk and stuff, and they're just as aware as I am of, say, world hunger and nuclear war and all that kind of stuff, but they just choose to ignore it, and I guess it makes them feel better. They feel safer about it. And I think punk tries to open your eyes to it and really let you know what's going on and say, hey, you can do something about it.
The first one was like the old rock and roll, the first punk rock wave. It was like in 1978 or something. Like if you look in the first flip sides, you'll see in their list of fanzines, there'll be like 3 from North Carolina, and they won't have any from like Ohio or anything like that. Like one of the first punk rock scenes was in North Carolina. And they had bands like the Cigarettes and Butchwhacks and the Hurts and stuff like that. And they were basically just rock and roll, kind of like 77 punk, but basically just rock and roll.
The first thing about hardcore is, well, I grew up in the neighborhood with like Reed and Ethan, Reed Mullin, Ethan Smith, and I think Ethan's brother was the first. I don't know where he must have picked it up. There was a local band in town, the Cigarettes, but there was no name. They were just strange music, and there was no name like hardcore or anything, and that was like a long time ago. And Ethan brought a single, I think it was a Minor Threat single, or it could have been a Beaver single, and we just got interested in it, and we started buying records, and they're like people that knew about it. I don't know who it was. Like half those guys that I knew when I was first starting, I don't even know where they went now.
Well, there was this album called Nevermind the Bollocks by the Sex Pistols. It was amusing. It was bright pink and bright green, and it really stood out, and so I picked it up, and I kind of liked it. I thought it was funny, but it was a real rockin' record, So that's how I got into punk rock. From there, just other punk rock records that caught my eye, I would check out, and if I thought they were interesting, I'd buy them. And then I picked up the first Dead Kennedys album, which I thought was okay. but it wasn't great. That was my first hardcore album, I guess. And then a little bit later, I got Decline of the Western Civilization, and then I fell in love with those groups, I guess. Black Flag and the Circle Jerks. From then on, I liked hardcore a lot.
My sister, who was living and still does in Washington, I would go up there to visit, and she would just turn me on to new stuff, and I'd go up, and first she would turn me on to stuff like Devo, and like the Ramones and stuff, and then stuff like Minor Threat, and it went on from there. And then I would meet people down here that had similar tastes and interests.
Lyrics are all political and stuff. Well, for the most part. They say a lot more. I mean, it's like mainstream. I mean, say Frankie says, two tribes go to war. They deny it's about anything that would help out on all their interviews. It's like, yeah, it could be about anything. Ooh. Tiger against a lion or something. Big deal. I mean, I think there's some mainstream groups that say a little, but punk says it straight out, what the deal is.
Well, mainly it was different from all the shit that you heard every day on the radio, and it was fast, and it was like full of energy, and it was power.
When rock and roll came out in the 50s, it was like completely different from anything else. And it was like something the kids could get into. I mean, everybody knows that. And like that was what was so great about it. It was a rebellion, Now, fucking 40-year-old people listen to the radio, I mean, what? It's not rebellion, How can you get into that? Punk and hardcore is it's just old rock and roll again, It's like something to believe in, it's something you can get into, and they don't play it on the radio, and 40-year-old people don't listen to it, It's something that I've got from my generation, something I can be a part of, while I'm a young person.
I guess just kids over in America heard what was going on in England or in the big cities, that the music was loud and fast. They picked up on it and kind of amplified everything, turned everything up twice as loud and twice as fast, tried to be twice as offensive. And I guess that was the start of hardcore.
Lyrics and the mentality behind it is a lot different. Your average rock and roll song usually talks about, sex and drugs and partying, stuff like that. And I think most punk songs are about things that need to be talked about, like, thinking for yourself and, just caring for other people. And the music's a lot, it's a lot faster. There's a lot more energy in it.
just like the way the clothing look and stuff, and a lot of times they want to make themselves distinct from everybody else because everybody else pretty much nowadays looks like anyways. They just like, it shows them as themselves, like I'm Sam Lonnie, you know, I'm not Joe Blow.
The reason I do it is like, well, I don't think I'm dressed bizarre, but I do sometimes, is like, because it's fun, and also it's, if you take things to an extreme, things like seem to be more effective. Like, I mean, you can like, I could walk in a three-piece suit and go to a bunch of lawyers and say, you should take people what they are, not what they look like. And they say, okay, yeah, I agree with you, you know. But if you walked in there with like, like dressed real weird, it'd be hard for them to believe. But
what I consider strange and what people might consider strange are two different things. I think a triple mohawk's not strange to me. I'm used to it. People consider this strange, but I don't think it is. And what people would consider, what people consider strange now will be accepted in a couple years. When I first got into punk, I had my hair cut short on top, and it was long in the back, and it was all spiky. But that's all the rage these days. Everybody and their sister and brother have that haircut. You know, if you're gonna change things, you can conform to a certain extent to get your ideas listened to. Because people will listen to me because of the way I look. I can write stories for my school newspaper. I'm on the newspaper staff at my school, and I can write stories about punk and inform people, and people will listen to me because I don't threaten them in any way. But imagine if I walked around with boots, you know, and they imagine that, I wanted to kick them with them. You know, those are for beating people up. Or if I had a leather jacket, and that's, you know, I mean, that's tough. Then they wouldn't listen to me. They would be, you know, say, this guy's just a violent asshole. He doesn't, you know, forget him. So I figure if you conform to a certain extent, not in your ideas, but, you know, to an acceptable dress, something that you like and something that it's not going to menace people or threaten them, then you can get your ideas listened to, and you can go a lot further than trying to beat sense into people, you know. Appeal to them, don't fight them.
Well, I think some of them, like I was saying, want to make like a political statement with it, and some of them want to shock people because people are so easily shocked. And I think some of them just like it. I mean, I went through a stage where I wanted to like walk through shopping malls, and I get so furious because, you know, people would look at me, you know, laugh at me or something. So I wanted to like go to even further extremes, you know, and put myself in a category that's farthest as I possibly could get from those kind of people. But I mean, I think also it's just like, you know, it's fun to like cut your hair weird or something. It's not like, because I really don't do it anymore to like be pissed off at people. I just do it because it's fun and I'm bored. So, you know, you cut your hair or something.
Even if they are doing it as a trend, it's still pretty brave, and that they see that you don't have to wear Calvin Kleins. I don't even know if Calvin Kleins are still in style or what.
Okay, the reason I mean, I think it's kind of obvious why they see us like as, you know, being violent and all that. First, there's like slam dancing or skanking or just, you know, whatever you want to call it. You know, I mean, you are like running around and hitting, not like to hurt them, but you are hitting people. I mean, like you're running into them, and that, you know, if some 45-year-old lady sees something on TV about it, and it's like a bunch of kids with skinheads or mohawks or, you know, and these sloppy clothes and stuff, like banging into each other, you know, they're gonna think, well, they're crazy, they're out to hurt people and stuff like that. And plus, there's just the general look of the typical, you know, the stereotypical punk. You know, you got a mohawk or a leather jacket. The leather jacket has, you know, since the 50s been, you know, a sign of a hoodlum, you know. But of course, that's what punk is for. We're supposed to look like hoodlums, you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, I hate to use words like that, supposed to, because I know somebody will get mad. But I mean, punk is, you know, sort of a hoodlum thing. Not that we're violent hoodlums who go out and steal and shit like that. I mean, just a street punk. We're punks, you know, in the classical sense, punks. And I mean, of course, they're going to see us as violent. And plus, there's the old, not really cliche, but just the old adage, you know, if people just don't like what they don't understand, and they'll find everything bad about it that they can, just to either that or ignore it, just so it'll not be there, which I think is pretty stupid. And that's another reason why I'm in funk.
Well, sometimes, like in dancing, I can see it as being violence because it like gets really rough and everything. You'd have to call it violence, and I don't know, it's like sometimes people just get carried away with what they're doing and they get real violent. But it depends, like at what times and where the media sees punk at is where they'll see violence. Like here in Raleigh, they won't find it, but if they go to LA, you know, they'll find it everywhere. So I guess it really depends where you look and the people that are there.
I'm not violent. I've seen violent punks before, but I've seen more violent, more normal people. I shouldn't say no, or just regular people.
Afraid to be individuals, in the sense of a lot of people say, you know, you're just conforming by not conforming, but that's my choice. And people choose to be in a different set, and I find a lot of times that they're more aware too than people who aren't hardcore. It's more important for them to know that what's going on in El Salvador and what our government's doing than just not caring at all, which I find a lot of, well, I don't know, a lot of people that I've talked to who aren't hardcore. That's kind of a generalization, I know, but I think that's a lot to do with the music, too.
I don't know. I don't like the casual attitude. It's a large problem. And I don't like the casual attitude that Reagan or just the President of the United States is taking. Any of the presidents, except for Carter. I think Carter made very active steps towards disarmament and peace. And it was a big mistake. I think it was a major loss. Not a major loss, but a substantial loss. And I just think there's too much of a casual attitude about arms control. There should be a lot more action now, not future plans for talks. It's always like they're having a talk to plan on when they can have a talk about peace, and nothing ever gets achieved. So they have to have another talk to plan when they're gonna have the next talk to talk about when they're gonna talk about peace. It just gets to the point where big fat deal, nothing's ever gonna happen. Might as well face it. But I don't know. I kind of hope that the president or the premier or anyone is going to be, I don't really know, but I hope they're just as scared as everyone else, and they're not even going to think about it. It's just as remote as can be.
It's getting real conservative at any rate, and there's going to be a backlash. If it hasn't started already, it's going to happen. People are going to realize that that the present administration's getting carried away with all the just everything they're doing. I mean, all there's going to be a backlash. That's all. Yeah. There's something to get angry about, I guess, and people are going to realize it.
I don't know if we're going to exist in 4 years, personally. Well, I don't know. Just think if, when Reagan just went to speak in France, right? Just think if, a Soviet KGB guy just got really pissed off and went in and shot him. The world would be over in a day, Reagan has brought on such a conservative air across the whole nation. It's so sick. We got all these Nazis and KKK people running rampant all over the country, killing people. He's got this deficit. He's building up defense, making all these incredible missiles. Got doing all this wonderful stuff in Central America. I don't know. I didn't vote for him. I'm not too impressed with Reagan, that's for sure. The beast. The arms race, that's it's arm or die, man. A lot of punks are really nice people, and just try to accept them.